I'm going to discuss accidental love today. The story follows a waitress from a small village who, after inadvertently getting a nail hooked in her brain, starts acting strangely and travels to Washington. Alice serves clients while roller skating at her job as a waitress in a cafe. Scott wants to marry her. Her parents tell her when they get to the restaurant. After arriving at Alice's house on a motorbike, Scott gives her his new Bluetooth glasses and proposes a date. Alice consents, and that evening they enjoy supper at a classy establishment. Just before Scott is ready to confess his love to Alice, a worker wonders how long they will be together. As Scott pulls out a ring to place on Alice's finger, the employee trips and falls down the steps. Alice is driven by Scott to the hospital. The physicians discover that Alice has a deep nail in her skull and that she requires immediate surgery. However, since Alice does not have health insurance, the doctors will not do the procedure and claim it would cost $150,000. Scott queries what would happen if they do nothing since he cannot afford it. The physicians warn that Alice may become hostile. Scott determines that they must put off getting married. Although Alice's parents promise to cover some of the cost, they are unable to cover the whole amount. Alice's parents decide to form a fund to generate money for specialized medical treatment because they are worried that Alice may go insane. Many individuals, even those without insurance and those suffering from illnesses that cannot be treated, attend the celebration. Alice encounters Kesson, who suffers from a butt issue, and ex-priest Norm, who has a crotch issue. Medication is causing strain in Norm's trousers. They only get $1,000 after the celebration when they calculate the contributions, which is insufficient. Veterinarian Alice's aunt offers to do the brain surgery on Alice. Although Alice has no other alternatives throughout the procedure, she agrees to the plan despite Scott's disapproval. Alice starts to lose her cool and starts saying absurd things because she believes her mind is leaking. In an attempt to calm her down, Scott informs her that they must split up because he would never marry a person who is losing her mind. He promises to return to her if she restores her brain, but for now he must go. Kesson shows up to comfort Alice when she acts out and becomes sad, telling her to hold on to her optimism. Alice watches a charming guy on TV who offers assistance to those in need and makes good on his word. He seems like a good man, and she wants to go see him in Washington. Pastor Normal and Kesson agree to accompany her. They enter the congressional building as soon as they get to Washington. Kesson uses his charm to ask the female security guard out on a date when security discovers a nail gun on Alice and takes her into custody. Alice claims she came to talk with Howard, and the security personnel let them entry. In order to speak with his new buddy Rakessa, Kesson chooses to remain behind. When Alice reaches Howard's office, he is in the middle of a phone conversation with his mother, so she is not permitted inside. In the meanwhile, P. Hendrickson, a former astronaut who works for Parliament, walks into the hallway. Howard receives an instruction from a lady to support her idea to establish a military facility on the moon as she enters his office. Despite his reluctance, Howard is stuck. The woman's second assistant admits that they have tricked the Girl Scouts into helping them by claiming Shakira would be their jambur. After feeling quite uneasy, Pastor Norm heads to the hotel. Unfazed, Alice resolves to enter any office and accomplish her objectives. Nonetheless, she is ejected, and her purse is ripped. Alice informs Howard about her troubles and those of her pals when they first meet. She contends that for those without insurance to have access to health care, the legislation must be amended. Though he is simply a young congressman who follows instructions, Howard says he would love to assist, but is unable to do so. Alice finds Howard's rejection upsetting and unbelievable. After receiving a blow to the head, she begins acting abnormally. She walks up to Howard and plants a kiss. They enter the workplace and begin their calorie burn. Howard finds Alice's self-admittance endearing and determines she can assist him in his assignment. He asks her to help build the lunar colony and make an appearance on television. Alice agrees to talk about the lunar base, even though she has no knowledge of it and feels that it keeps us secure. Howard pledges to support the creation of new legislation that will benefit the unwell. Pastor Norm finds it astounding how Alice persuaded Howard. Alice can hardly hold back her need to assault him. Kesson didn't discuss his health concerns, instead stating that he had a great time with Rakessa. In the evening, they go to a meeting where Howard greets them. First on the interview list are the Girl Scouts, who support the development of the moon base. Alice trails behind, posing for the camera. Making the moon seem like one of our states, she poignantly explains her situation and begs the government to accept the moon base project. Alice's speech had everyone in stitches. Seeing Alice as his savior particularly makes Howard happy. They check into a hotel, have a party, and then find themselves alone in a room. Howard says that his mother forced him into politics, even though as a boy he always wanted to serve people and become a ranger. He acknowledges that Alice is the one he has always needed. Alice claims that her awareness is no longer affected by the nail in her skull. The next morning, they share a kiss and a bed together. As he sobers up, Howard recalls that they are having a meeting with the House Speaker. Ellis inquires of the Speaker about the approval date of the new health insurance bill while bringing her friends to the conference. Confused, the Speaker claims he has never supported such measures. He intends to erect and name a military outpost on the moon after himself. His rejection confounds Alice. Howard steps in, saying that the tiny rule will help the Speaker's standing. The Speaker rejects, however, and compliments the Girl Scouts on their cookies. Later, the girls find out that Shakira has threatened to destroy the military installation and won't be attending their jamboree. Construction firm. The Speaker chokes on a cookie, and the secretary provides defibrillators, which Pastor Norm tries to administer while feigning concern for her employer at the burial. However, Pam Hendrickson shuts them off. After seeing Alice on TV, Scott informs his girlfriend that they should split up since he has fallen in love with her once again. Pretending to be really sad for the Speaker, Pam prepares her speech to say that he gave his approval to build Moonbase. Alice ascends to the platform and delivers an emotional speech detailing the hardships faced by common people who cannot afford medical care. She breaks down and declares her belief in America. Pam is advised to remain silent by the Speaker's widow. Alice claims that since the Speaker was a kind man, he consented to the health insurance bill. Everyone cheers her remarks as it causes a stir. While Howard is aware that Pam would either fire or murder him if she finds out, Alice and her companions are happy that they have tricked everyone. Saying he is happy for Alice, he leaps out of the window. Girl Scouts even create a fictitious film depicting a home surgery as part of their effort to overturn the new rule and close the moon base. People disagree about Pam's attempt to damage Alice's reputation. Scott tells Alice at one occasion that he loves her and will locate Howard and begs her to return to their homeland with him. Scott comes upon Howard, who is engaged in a shamanic ceremony. Assisting Howard, Scott explains to him that a true man acts on his desires without having to justify himself. At a rally thereafter, Howard declares he would work to pass new legislation to aid those in need. He gives Alice a kiss and tells her he loves her, but the next day he is struck in the face. They head to Congress, where Pam is now the Speaker of the House, making it difficult to pass the new legislation. Pam stops Howard in his tracks as he attempts to clarify that the health insurance bill is more significant than Mars. Her bringing up of Howard's prior employment on military sites gives the impression that Alice is taking advantage of him. Alice, who is ill, delivers a moving statement on how common people suffer in silence. Howard pleads. Practically everyone votes against the legislation, and Pam prevails, but he still chooses to give his life. Alice is devastated, and Keeson is angry that his lover left him after learning about his sickness. Alice overhears Howard conversing with his helper, so Scott recommends they get home. Scott claims that Howard has deceived them and that they need to go. Howard says sorry to Congress, stating that he wants his former position back and that he supports the moon base. After realizing Howard has deceived her, Alice checks into a motel. As she prepares to depart, she discovers on television that Howard was sacked because the new bill contained a health insurance provision that would benefit Alice and her pals. Howard claims in an interview that he is in love with Alice and that he had to pretend to betray her. Excited, Alice rushes outdoors to give Howard a kiss. Since he has another girlfriend, Scott isn't too unhappy. As Kesson recovers, he chooses to wed his lover. They had a terrific time, and Alice and Howard are the best men at the wedding. I'm appreciative of your attention. Remember to subscribe, please. I'll see you in the next video.